Hi there, my name is Hank Hill, and I work at Strickland Propane.
Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. 'Tis I, Multi-Voice Reviewer, back again for another review. You know, I reviewed Beavis and Butthead and Daria. And of course, this is another review created and voiced by Mike Judge. Now, believe it or not, unlike Daria was a spin-off to Beavis and Butthead, he did create a character that is pretty much similar to Hank Hill. In Beavis and Butthead, you will meet this old man who goes by the name of Mr. Anderson. Now, they tried to make a spin-off after Mr. Anderson by creating a character who is similar to him. And even they were trying to make the idea that Mr. Anderson was Hank Hill's dad. But they scrapped the whole project because Mr. Anderson belongs to Beavis and Butthead, and Beavis and Butthead belongs to MTV, while Hank Hill belongs to Fox. But this is the review I'm going to review for you today, folks. And it is King of the Hill. Is that everybody? Now, unlike Beavis and Butthead, one thing I started noticing about King of the Hill, it goes by certain type of laws and, same kind of problems that most people always have these days. Now, one thing I gotta say about Mr. Hill here, he's arrogant, he's stubborn, and he has no imagination. His dream is becoming the big, successful businessman to propane. And the only person he respects, besides his hero Woody Nelson, is his boss, Mr. Strickland. And Mr. Strickland is a real ladies' man. And of course, he has his wife, Peggy. Now, Peggy's a good woman, but sometimes she does get kinda stubborn. Like, she's a substitute teacher. She teaches Spanish, but her Spanish is so... her Spanish is so horrible. I'd rather hear sounds of nails scratching the chalkboard than her doing her Spanish. She's terrible. And of course, they have a son named Bobby, who's a young kid, but Hank Hill always treats Bobby like... he doesn't respect what Bobby does. Bobby wants to be a comedian, he wants to be a class clown, but Hank Hill just doesn't find him funny, and... he doesn't give him any respect that he deserves. Kind of sounds a lot like my grandpa. I wanted to be funny, but he doesn't pay much attention what I do. So. And of course, unlike other cartoon characters who goes to a bar to drink beer, Hank Hill, he stays outside of his fence, hanging out with three of his friends. This here is Boomhauer. Now, he's a ladies' man, and he always talks like this. Oh, there, just the Boomhauer, they're going the dang just hanging out and being with my best friend. Of course, there is Bill. Now, Bill, he's a bachelor because, well, not much of a bachelor, just a depressing man who'd gone through a divorce. He has a hard time trying to find dates. He works in the military as a barber, always shaving every recruiter's head. I try to do my impression of him, but I can't do it. And this guy here, that's Dale. Now, what bothers me about him is his conspiracy theory. I hate conspiracies. And every time he opens up his mouth and says something that's very conspiracy, I was like, oh, shut up, Dale. And he's an idiot. Really, really dumb. but he works as an exterminator. And he's happily married with his wife here. But of course we can tell that his wife has been cheating on Dale with Cornwood, the Native American guy, and those two had a son. And Dale thinks that his son is part human, part alien. He thinks that the aliens came into his house and impregnated his wife. And what really bothers me the most is Hank Hill's dad. Now, unlike Mr. Anderson, that I wish that he would have been Hank Hill's dad. But this here is Hank Hill's dad right here. Now, Mr. Hill, he's a former World War II vet who battled against the Japanese. But he's an old-fashioned 50s type guy. He doesn't respect women, he hates women, he's a real misogynist, male chauvinistic. Every time when he meets women, he likes to slap them in the butt. And he's also married to this girl, who's pretty much the same age as Hank Hill. And they both met at the old folks' home. And the only, now the only character I kind of like in the show are the Kahn families. Here's Mr. and Mrs. Kahn and their little girl, Connie Kahn Jr. Now, Connie Kahn Jr., she's a smart girl. She studies violins and such, and they want her to succeed in school so she can go to college. But one thing about Mr. Kahn here is that he acts so arrogant. He looks down at everybody, calling them a bunch of rednecks. Now, I know I left out one person. This here is Luanne. She is Hank Hill's niece. And the reason why she lives with them is because her mother was an alcoholic and got arrested. And her father, he got arrested too. So she had a horrible family. So Hank and Peggy decided to treat Luanne as a daughter to them. And this is the entire family right here. Now, I gotta say, this show is really good. There are some episodes that always gets on my nerves, some episodes that pees me off over certain people, certain characters. But all in all, it is a great show. And it's really fun to watch. I like this one episode. Well, actually, there's tons of episodes. I cannot think which one is my favorite. I enjoyed them all, so I don't have much of a favorite there. And of course, they go through a lot of things. Like one time, Khan's father-in-law called the general. Oh, one thing you should know. Mr. and Mrs. Khan, I mean, what bothers me is when Hank Hill came to them, he says, "Are you from China or Japan?" But actually, they're from Laos. Laos Island. Somewhere in between Vietnam and Philippines. Heck, even Hank's dad knows where he's from. But he's still prejudiced nonetheless. But the general, he disrespects Mr. Khan. And if you ask me, his appearance, he looks a lot like Gorbachev. I mean, he looks like an Asian Gorbachev without the wine stain birthmark. Until one time they did this one episode where a bunch of... Oh, yeah. Now, Luanne here, she doesn't get... I mean, she always goes through a bad relationship. One time she meets this one kid. He treats her like dirt, and all he does is ride around on his motorcycle. But she still loves him nonetheless. Until all of a sudden, when he died of a motorcycle accident, she kind of mourns over him. Until she had a dream that his angel showed up to her. he does talk down to her, but tell her to move on. And I thought there would be no other guys who'd be better for her until I met this one, and I mean, not me, I mean, until she met this one redneck. Now, he's an old-fashioned redneck with buck tooth and a southern accent going there, and long white hair. And of course, he has $10,000 from that accident that he slipped on pee-pee. So he got a $10,000 settlement. But even though he's a redneck and not exactly the bright one, but compared to other guys she's with, he's alright. I say he's okay. And of course, Boomhauer, he has a brother, voiced by Matthew McConaughey. Alright. Yo, Matthew McConaughey, say that famous line on Dazed and Confused. Alright. One thing I like about high school girls, I keep getting old, they stay the same age. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Thank you, Mr. McConaughey. I don't know, that's one thing from Master McConaughey I remember. His line from Dazed and Confused. Perfect! Sorry. Got a little something I need to get out. Pedophile! Oh, I need to get that out. Oh. And of course, one thing I thought it was really touching is that Bill met Khan's mother, and I gotta say, they hit it off. Compared to other women that he ended up with, Khan's mother, I mean, their chemistry was a whole lot better, but Khan was against it. He didn't want his mother to be with Bill, because he's a redneck, that's why. Until they finally figured out that he was one responsible for causing them to separate. Until at the end, they say their farewells. And nothing happens after that. I wonder why. And of course, I do like the chemistry between Bobby and Connie. Their relationship was pretty sweet. But of course, I discovered it's just puppy love. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Although I kind of hate it when they break up, but things change. Gotta move on. Until when they did the, and believe it or not, the show, can you believe that this show lasted a whole lot more than Beavis and Butthead? There's only 13 seasons. They made 13 seasons of King of the Hill. It started in 1996 and ended in 2010. So, I gotta say, that's a good run. And of course, the father passed away in the show during the 12th season. And of course, they did a few episodes involving Hank's mother, who just doesn't understand how she feels of these. Like one time, his mother meets a Jewish guy, and he's kind of being a jerk about it because he thinks that he'll bring Hanukkah to his family instead of the old Christian way. That's just stupid. Just because they're from a different religion doesn't mean they're gonna cram their religion down our throats. I mean, be more welcome to everybody and be more open-minded. I am. I don't judge people by their appearance. And I don't judge them by their beliefs. I respect them full-heartedly. The only thing I'm prejudiced against is people who are against them. But that's me. And can you believe that Bernie Mac was in the show? He played the repairman who pretty much made Hank really, really mad at him. And it caused his dog here, named Ladybird, yeah, that's her name, Ladybird, to attack that repairman. And now he thinks that Hank's dog is a racist. And now they're starting to ridicule Hank, thinking that his dog is a racist, that means he's a racist. Until they finally figured out, it's not the repairman, it's people who pees them off. They always say that most animals, when they're attached to you, they can share the same emotions that you feel. Gee. Maybe I can train my dog to attack some of my relatives who pees me off. Might be fun to watch. Yeah. But of course, how can I train a Chihuahua? But, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me for putting something really serious. You see, folks, this is not just a review of King of the Hill, but this is a tribute. A tribute to one of the really best actress I remembered who is in this show. And it's the actress who did the voice of Luanne. And the actress who did the voice of Luanne is none other than Brittany Murphy. You know, I remember Brittany Murphy. I mean, her fame started ever since when she appeared in the movie Clueless. And after that, her career started to rise during that time. And the last movie she'd done was 8 Mile with Eminem. But what kind of bothered me the most is that she was very talented and really good. She's not a great actress, but she's really good, though. And of course, one thing I kept noticing about Brittany Murphy is that when she plays a crazy character, she plays it really dang good when she plays a crazy lunatic. I mean, heck, when I heard that somebody's planning to have a Harley Quinn in their Batman movies, heck, I would have... I mean, heck, if I was a casting director, or if I give Hollywood a message, I would have tell them to cast Brittany Murphy to play Harley Quinn, because she would be perfect. But what's done is done. Now, I did say I'm not much of a conspiracy theory, but I do have a sneaking suspicion about her death. Because have you noticed that after she died, her husband died a couple of years later? I find that kind of weird, and I also remember that that her husband is in trouble by debt or something. I mean, I heard he was in trouble by something, and I have a sneaking suspicion that whoever that he owes money to, they try to get to him, so they must have got to Brittany Murphy before they got to him. And I haven't heard anything about her mother. I mean, I don't know if she's still alive or not. So, I do have a sneaking suspicion it might be some foul play. But I guess that's just my theory. Maybe not a chaos theory, but maybe a good theory. But a lot of people say she died from inhaling some certain mildew in their house. And her husband got the same thing, but her mother is still alive, so that's weird. So, one thing I have to say about Brittany Murphy: rest in peace, girl. And you'll always be in our memories. Heck, I also heard that before she met her husband, she was with Ashton Kutcher ever since that movie Just Married. And then after that, he dumps her for Demi Moore. And now he's with Mila Kunis, the co-star from that 70s show. Anyway, well, enough about Brittany Murphy and back on the show here. And this is what I wanted to say. I wanted to do a tribute to Brittany Murphy. And of course, talk a lot about the show here. And this is King of the Hill for you. And I remember that Family Guy and The Simpsons do a lot of reference of King of the Hill. Just for respect. Now, I never watched King of the Hill back then. But since I got myself online and started finding the shows, it was really good. My grandma and I watched it, and it's not as bad as we assumed to be. I mean, we just thought that King of the Hill would be as bad as Beavis and Butthead, or bad as, well, maybe not like Family Guy, but pretty much in the same genre as The Simpsons. But this is King of the Hill for you. And for those of you who like my review, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe. And for those of you who are watching, see ya. Ha 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 ha. Oh, hi everybody, I'm Tommy Wiseau. And the next review, I'm going to talk to multi-voice reviewer to review my best movie ever made, The Room. So you better stay tuned, or are you just a little chicken? Cheep, 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 cheep. Ha 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 ha.